Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's the Castello Show, episode 3, match week 4. It is the St. Patrick's Day episode. Get excited, everyone. I'm here, Brian, here with John. You know us by now. Let's get right into it. Last week's stories. We got Miami on a loss to Montreal, resting Messi, Suarez, and Busquets. Now, here's the thing. I hate Miami. I don't want Miami
so much.
I don't want them to win games. So I would have been excited about them losing this game. However, they were the last game of the entire week, and I never checked my lineup, so Messi stayed in my team, and this royally fucked me because of that. It was just a bad game, too. I mean, Gressel and Alba in, and they didn't do much.
Yeah, Alba had points. Gressel had 1.
Yeah.
I tried to change him to my captain from Messi.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to do that first before I pulled Messi out, but it was too late. It didn't let me. It was literally exactly 5 o'clock, I think that was
on the dot.
And it didn't let me. So Messi was not only still in, but still my captain.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to change my captain to Gressel, which wasn't a big deal because he only got a point. But I wanted to put Campana in.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of people don't like captaining the last game of the week. I don't think it's so bad when it's guys like Cucho, Acosta that play every game no matter what. But a guy who's 50 years old like Messi, last game of the week, I mean, you're taking a chance.
Yeah.
He could rest at any time, especially now with the stupid
and especially playing
CONCACAF.
Especially playing Montreal. I mean, you really, if there was ever a safe week to rest him.
Montreal's been good now.
Yeah.
7 points in 3 games.
Here's what I also hate about the decision. Like, you don't rest all 3 of them at once. Like, we can't get a rotation on that. Can we get a chore chart for who rests at Miami? Like, why are they all sitting at once?
I don't know.
Just put Jordi Alba and Gressel on the bench while you're at it. Like, put the U18 team out there and see what they do. It was insane to rest all 3 of them. Next up on the docket, Atlanta 4-1 over New England. Atlanta finds their form, which is nice. They've had a rough start to the season. And New England continuing to not know where their form is. That was
I don't think
another one.
Atlanta starts so rough. I mean, they had to bye, and then they had Columbus in the first week. That's a difficult match.
That is rough, yeah.
But they're a really good team. And they have defenders now that can build out of the back. They move the ball, and that led to one of their goals. They were calm. It was very nice, actually. Now, those aren't guys you want to start in fantasy. Those guys get no points.
Right.
I looked up those center backs, but they get nothing. But they looked great. I mean, they're a real team. They're one of the top teams in the league this year. And New England is just a disaster.
And I don't know what happened, because I don't feel like they lost anyone incredibly important. I mean, you still
have a new coach.
You got both the heels. You got... Bobby Wood. Does Bobby Wood play soccer anymore?
I don't know. He is still on the roster.
I know he's still on the roster, but does he own cleats?
Vrioni, he's still hurt. That's their forward, their new forward.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're also in that stupid tournament. I mean...
Yeah. Well, and the tournament is killing them. And
everyone. It's killing everyone.
We'll get into that more later. Next on the docket here, Colorado win. That's a big one for them on the road against RSL. Bassett and Navarro, the 2 goal scorers. To be honest, I like Cole Bassett. I really do. We both liked him last year.
Yep.
Navarro, I don't think I played a ton last year, but I know he made my lineup a couple times. This could be the Rapids putting it together. RSL's not some pushover team by any means.
I like what the Rapids can be.
Mm-hmm.
They're young, but I like what they can be. I think they have a good roster.
Yeah.
So...
No, on paper, they're not as bad as...
Maybe they're starting to put it together. I don't know. We'll see.
It's a little early.
I mean, RSL hasn't done anything when it hasn't snowed, so we don't know that, they could have just beat a bad team for all we know.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen anything from them, so...
And then last on our list, Philly-Seattle postponed, and I guess will be rescheduled on weather.
Yeah, but you won't get any of your points back.
No.
For this. And actually, those guys won't be eligible that week in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So if that would be like a double game week, it won't count as a double game week.
So
because this game is already used.
Right. So that's stupid, by the way.
Yes.
One thing I did think about with this, because Philly-Seattle, Seattle was actually one of my picks last week, if you guys watched. So what I was thinking was, that's a push, right? With most books, you're just good. Like, I've never seen the weather canceled.
And
I bet on
I've used books that if you had a parlay and one game didn't go off for weather,
they pushed the whole parlay.
I've had some do that, but some turn into just an individual bet for the other game.
Gotcha.
So it depends on the book.
Check your rules on that. But the other thing here is, I mean, honestly, if you have guys in for teams in shitty weather cities, you probably need to keep up with that. I mean, as insane as it is to say.
Well, it's really bad. You look around
the
here, and if people don't know, we're in Charlotte. Lightning can happen at any time once we get close to the summer.
Yeah.
You know, and we've been stuck outside the stadium in the street.
Yep.
Because they don't let you in. And then we've been stuck inside the stadium in the tunnel or whatever. So it can happen at any time. So it's really tough. I think the rules of the game should be changed. I mean, I think you should be able to pull those guys out and start someone else, you know, that obviously hasn't started yet. But I don't know. I don't like that. It can hurt a team. You could have potentially had 6 players in that game.
Yeah.
You'd have been crushed. Your week would have been over.
Yep. No, and nothing you can do about it. I mean, even because if you checked all of they played up to the 6th minute.
Right, which means
so the game kicked off.
And the lock time is well before kickoff, depending on whatever these ridiculous erroneous times they put down now are.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually kickoff times like every other sport.
But yeah, so I would definitely start checking weather if that's something you're. I mean, it's gonna come up
with the LAFC guys.
So last week's fantasy scores. Do we want to start with your team?
We can. It was bad again.
Was it better than week 2?
It was.
Steady improvement. Incremental improvement.
Yeah.
If either of us have ever coached you, you've heard us say incremental improvement a lot.
Yeah. So I had an original goalie keeper with Coronel on my bench, and I just had a $4 million guy that wasn't playing, guy from Houston, Valdez. When Coronel only got 2 points, then I tried to change things around, and I like Salentano, so I made a lot of changes for that. So Salentano went in, which was good because he got a clean sheet, got me 8 points. And so I had to pull out Gressel or Alba to be able to make up for that
money.
Yeah. And I'll say this, Amika Eneli from Real had already gotten a clean sheet on my bench as a defender. He had 9 points.
Yeah.
So I wanted to keep him. So I dropped Alba, kept Gressel, which was the wrong choice.
Yep.
And then I threw a Dynamo player on a buy that was only $4 million in the back to accommodate that. So I did get Eneli's. I went with Kip Keller. I think you did as well. We talked about him quite a bit last week.
Yep.
They had a clean sheet, and he got a few more points as well. Tolkien was disappointing. Just like Coronel, I loved Red Bull last week, and defensively they weren't good. Coronel had 2 and Tolkien had 2. And then my other guy on the defense was Gressel, and he only got a point as well. My midfield, better, but Forsberg was awesome. We talked about Forsberg. We both love him. He got 13. Almada was awesome. And I was very confident with both of them. Acosta only got 4 points. They didn't do anything offensively in that game at all. That was a terrible game to watch.
Gross.
It was awful. DC just kept stopping the game with fouls, with whatever they could, and then they'd argue with the ref to try to... And it was so choppy and terrible, which was probably smart because Cincinnati's way better than them.
Yeah, no, it was DC's game plan, I believe.
Totally.
Disrupt.
And it was the ref's fault for letting that happen.
Yeah.
Because he should have started throwing out yellows with all those arguments and everything, and it was a terrible game.
Yeah.
But it worked for them, so... and then I had Bajrak Tarovic. That wasn't the plan, but without Messi, he wound up playing. Right. And then I had Cucho and Lassiter up top. Lassiter was on the bench, who came in and scored a goal, which was nice. I really had him because he was cheap and might be able to come in, might be able to go up in value. And then he wound up playing as well. So it only amounted to 70 points, but I did make a lot of money. 9 of those guys made the maximum $500,000. Tolkien was the only one that lost. He lost $300,000. So I was up $4.2 million for the week. So it was a good week. It was a good week money wise, but point wise, it was terrible.
Gotcha. So my team, I was pretty heavy on Columbus and Cincinnati. I had Schulte in the net. They lost that clean sheet in like the 65th, which was disappointing. But Amundsen on the back line, still 5 points. Not that we didn't know already, but he's really a defender that, he scores without the clean sheet. Gressel, 1 point, disappointing. Kip Keller, 8, nice. The midfield, this is where it really all starts to fall apart. So Evander it was his first week in. That was a game time decision. He was fantastic, goal in the last minute there. Other than that, the entire midfield for me fell apart. Bogut and Boanga, I bet on their partnership again. I am 0-3 on that bet. Espinoza, disappointing. Acosta was my captain with his 4 points, which last season there was no one safer as your captain. I don't feel that way this season anymore.
No.
Up top, Teemu Pukki. I liked Minnesota. I really thought they were going to have a good week. I didn't know that Pukki was going to be the guy, but it worked out this time. Messi, DNP, told you I got screwed on that. Bench was still all $4 million guys, but we are up budget-wise, so now I'm up to 109.9. It's about a $2 million increase. This will be the first week that I probably get some guys involved on the bench. And then as far as rankings are concerned, overall I am 1,821st. In the Charlotte FC one, I am ranked 35th right now.
So we're pretty close. I'm 38th in Charlotte, and I'm 1,897 overall. So I expect that to go up. As I get more money, I do a better job with keeperoo, switcheroo, stuff like that. I think that's something that always gives me an advantage over people that don't really look at that. Look to try to get all the money on the field and throw $4 million guys on the bench. So
gotcha. All right. Well, guys, I'm very excited. Before we get into next week's lineups, we have a new segment that we are going to be doing on the show every week. It is time for John's Weekly Rant.
Okay.
John, what are you mad about?
So my rant this week, I always say check your lineups. I didn't check my lineups.
I didn't either.
The reason is because there's so many different kickoff times. Okay, there were 7 different kickoff times this week. You can't possibly check all of their lineups. There was 5 different kickoff times on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 on Sunday. And on Sunday, I was actually watching the Cincinnati game like I told you, and then I was trying to prepare stuff. I had a ref the next day, and I was getting that stuff together, and then realized, I think it's close to 5. I better check the Miami lineup. And no, it's exactly 5. And when I checked the lineup and Messi wasn't in and went to make a change, I couldn't make a change. I couldn't make him not my captain, and I couldn't make him not on my lineup instead of Campana. So that's what I would have done. I would have switched to Campana. This is not the NFL. The NFL, if Patrick Mahomes is on my team, guess what? He's starting every single week.
He plays.
Jamar Chase is starting every week. Like, I don't have to check lineups.
Yeah.
In this, you have to. The biggest players sit. And the MLS is not helping people in this by having so many different lineup times.
Yeah.
And it's It's certainly killing me. I'll say that.
I gotta be honest with you, and this is something I've always thought with soccer. But like, they don't put out lineups till, what do you think, 45 minutes before the game? An hour earliest?
Yeah.
You could put your lineup out Saturday morning at 9. There's no reason for you to be hiding your starting lineup until 45 minutes, unless it's like...
I think part of it is, well, now you give the other team to do a little game planning. But and then also you could have guys that might be somewhat game time decisions.
Yeah.
Health-wise and things like that. But if let's look at Miami. Okay, so they put all those guys weren't starting. Montreal might have made changes. And especially now, okay, let's talk to these guys. Let's talk about this new game plan based on this new. So I get it from that perspective. The thing is, if you want to be a pro league that's very, very relevant, you need to be very transparent on that. There's so many things. You look at the injury report for the NFL, they have to have a certain percentage that they say are at least doubtful that actually don't play.
Right.
They have to be very honest in their injury report. And that injury report comes out days before the games.
Yeah.
Why? Because of gambling. Because of gambling and fantasy football.
Yeah.
That's why. Because that's where they make all their money. That's why people care about the NFL. Mm-hmm. All the casual fans are brought in by these because they now have a vested interest. How many casual fans are there into the MLS? Something like fantasy and gambling can bring them in now, just like the NFL, but they're not setting their league up for gambling or for fantasy. So.
Yeah, well, now that gambling's legal in a lot of states, you need to start setting up for that because even, all your daily fantasy stuff was legal before, but there are a lot of people that I knew who would bet on games that weren't going to do daily fantasy. Now they're in.
Yeah.
And you gotta make changes for that. Yeah, that's John's Weekly Rant. We'll have a new one of those every week. If we don't have anything to be angry about, we'll find something.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I always have something to be angry about.
Next week it's gonna be Kip Keller's haircut, actually, I think. Moving on, so next week's teams, for me, I told you we have 109.9 million to work with. So I got Sean Johnson in the net right now. They're playing NYCFC. They're on the road. I just hate New York City. They're not a good team. And Toronto really is not letting up a lot of goals. They're playing a lot of 1-0 matches. Sean Johnson's averaging 8 points right now. Then I got Petretta on the back line, another Toronto player, keeping in touch with that. Keeping Gressel, I'm gonna let it ride on Gressel over Alba. I still think he's the better play, even though it didn't work out last week.
Yeah, that's 1 week.
Kip Keller's someone you should be looking at this week, even if you don't like him, just because his value's going to go up. And, he's not gonna be terrible. So I would put him in just for the money, if nothing else. Midfield, last week I told you it was a disaster, so this week I kept Evander, because he was the only one that worked. And then I've got Ricky Puig back in. Don't know why I gave up on him. Not even gave up, went a different direction, but Ricky Puig deserves to be in most lineups. Thiago Almada I got in this week, and then Reynoso, which he may not be back yet, that's going to be kind of a game time decision, but if he is back in against LAFC, I think he's going to have a big first day back. Then up top, right now I have Messi and Suarez. Messi's the captain, and then Alan Pulido as well from Kansas City. They're going to San Jose. They're home against San Jose. San Jose's atrocious. Alan Pulido hasn't done anything yet. I think it's time for his breakthrough game. And he's 7.6 million right now. He's a great value too. So I think he's someone to really look for this week. Right now, it's all $4 million guys on the bench. What will change that is if Reynoso doesn't play, he's gonna come out, and then I'll probably find someone I think I like, and then someone on the bench just in case.
And you can find someone cheaper than $8.5 million.
If Reynoso's playing, he was worth the money to me to keep that bench all $4 million guys. So that is my team. We'll see. Hopefully we're better off than last week, because I believe I had, because I didn't say it, 56 points last week. Unbelievable. I mean, by the way, 56 points, I won my head-to-head. I won 56 to 28.
We have some new people in our league, so our head-to-head is really a fun league, but
it's not the most competitive.
No.
It is a rec league fantasy.
But that's why we like to do better in the Charlotte FC and the overall, which we currently are not.
No. Well, hey, 35th and 38th. Take that.
I expect to be top 5 in Charlotte by the end of the
By
season.
the end of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
My expectations are not as high as yours. Alright. So what you got on the team this week?
So I always look at matchups and teams first.
Mm-hmm.
I like Atlanta, KC, LA Galaxy, and Seattle. Those are the 4 teams I like. So my keepers, I always look for a keeperoo option. Mealy on the bench because he plays before Fry, or Thomas if Fry's not back. I know he's practicing, so I expect him to be back, but that's an easy switch. And then I honestly hope he isn't, because that'll give me another $1.1 million to work with. My backline currently, and I might make changes, Lennon, Atlanta, one of the teams I like. Yedlin, I think he could be their Barreal. I do. And I think he's going to play this week. Now, if he doesn't play, I'm definitely going to put Kip Keller in his place. Great value.
Yeah.
And I'm still debating him, period. I'm always a little worried to put 2 guys from the same team on defense.
Do you think they go Keller and Yedlin, or do you think it's one or the other, or do they put them on opposite sides?
Well, Yedlin's going to be a real fullback.
Right.
Keller's part of like a 3-man back line, and he comes up. It's odd. Like, I don't know. It's not the way they played last year with Barreal. Maybe they get away from that totally.
Yeah.
But Yedlin is fast, man.
Yeah, I mean,
and he likes to get up the field.
It's about as close to a Barreal replacement as you could get.
Just a lot older and a lot more tattoos.
Yeah.
So.
And zigzag dreads.
Yeah. Yeah. I have Yamar. I don't know if he's playing yet. He also has been practicing. So I think those are big additions to Seattle, by the way, who you don't like. I think Seattle is one of the better teams in the West. I think the West is weak.
The West is atrocious.
And I honestly, they could win the West. I think they're good enough.
By the way, I never thought they wouldn't win the West. That doesn't mean that I think they're a good soccer team, though. Like, I just...
No, they are, though. I mean, then they perennially are.
No, yeah.
They have such a consistency there.
I'm comparing
players,
them.
Coaching. I like Seattle.
I'm also comparing Seattle to Miami and teams that
Columbus.
teams that are the best in the country. So it's not really fair to say they suck.
But if he doesn't play, I'll still put someone from Seattle probably on the back line, whether it be Reagan or Roldan.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got Fontes, more with the KC. So I've kind of stuck with those teams and everything. I've got Caceres currently on the bench. I will actually probably switch him with the Seattle guy, just because of he plays first, and then maybe there's a switcheroo option from that. In the midfield, I might do a lot of changing here. I got so many guys I like this week in the midfield. Right now, I got Almada, Acosta, Puig, and Atencio. Atencio, believe it or not, has been doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I like his matchup with Seattle. I have a lot of guys that I'm considering. I like Yeboah this week. Fletcher's really cheap on DC. I like both Tommy and Russell in KC. Now, I'd only pick one. One, I'd be running into a 4th guy, but 2, I still wouldn't want 2 guys in the midfield on the same team.
Right.
Paintsel, I went through the Paintsel-Puig debate in my head. Even thought about starting both of them.
I just always lean Puig there. Even though Paintsel is very good and deserves that credit, if I have to pick one of them, I just feel better about Ricky Puig. I really do.
Heel has... I think his worst week was 8 or 9 points of the 3 weeks.
Really?
Even though they're not doing well, he's in the center of everything.
Yeah.
So he's someone you could start every week, but it's like maybe he's in for a down week because every week's been good and they're not good.
Right.
And then Forsberg, I mean, I like Forsberg every week. So up top, Joveljic.
Yeah.
He's been great. And Cucho. but I am thinking about Polito. I really like Polito too,
Mm-hmm.
and I might make a change too because that might give me more money to put elsewhere. So I got a lot of thinking to do between now and Saturday. I'll also be looking at injury reports and things like that on Friday.
Yeah.
Lineups on Saturday. The rest of my bench was just two cheap guys.
Gotcha.
For more money on the field. So guys that might make a little money for me. So
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, and one thing I will say, while we're talking about Polito, so last season I looked into some stats for strikers. Cucho, if you added goals and assists together, Cucho led that. Belongo is second. Polito is third. But if you included key passes in that, Polito actually jumps up to second past Belonga. Polito's a real sleeper pick, and I don't understand how last season didn't wake everyone up to that.
No, he was good.
He was awesome last season, but again, I'm not seeing him in really anyone's lineup.
And I always look for guys that get passes, key passes,
Yeah.
corners, all those additional points, because those generally continue to happen most games,
Yeah.
even when you don't get goals or assists.
So next week's money lines, looking at actual games. There were 5 that I felt like were worth talking about. The big one for me, Miami plus 155. They're playing DC. In DC, it's plus 260 for the draw, plus 145 for DC to win. If Messi and Suarez are going to play, I honestly think they're going to bounce back very hard from last week, and they're going to roll through this DC team. I don't think this is going to be a game if they put everyone on the field.
So it's in DC. If Benteke's back, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
I don't love Miami defensively. I didn't last year after all these changes. I mean, they attack,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they're defenders that we continue to pick. They're attacking defenders.
Yeah.
So teams can get in behind, and Benteke obviously we know can score.
Yeah.
I don't think DC's gonna win, but I'm a little worried about the draw.
Yeah. Well, and plus 155 and then plus 260 on the draw. You could kind of hedge that if you wanted to limit your losses there. Next game on the docket, I've got Seattle minus 175. At home, Colorado's coming to visit. Colorado plus 450. I mean, I know De La Vega's missing, but they might have Fry back now too. You know, there's some big people coming back to Seattle. And as much as we like this young Colorado Rapids team, I don't think they put it together that much.
I just told you I like Seattle. I think they're a good, solid team.
Yeah,
I like them at minus 175.
And so Colorado plus 450 feels lopsided, and that almost makes me want to bet Colorado because of just the pure value of it. But Seattle's the pick. I mean, they're a safe bet there. Columbus playing the Red Bulls. Columbus minus 110. Red Bulls plus 270. I mean, you gotta go with Columbus there. I hate that the Crew is gonna be on my picks list every single week, but they're gonna be probably.
They could finish with the Supporters Shield.
Yeah, I mean, short of them playing, you know, a Miami where I'm a little worried about a draw or something. I'm happy to bet the Crew every week. And actually, the Crew is one of the only teams that has had a negative money line every single week. Every other team has gone to positives. Like even Miami being, DC's the favorite this week. They're still plus 145. That's very common in soccer that they're both positive. But Columbus never is. Then Toronto at home plus 350 playing New York City. Or sorry, they're in New York City.
No, they are in, yeah.
Toronto's going on the road to New York City. I like Toronto at plus 350. I truly believe they're the better team, and I think the book just hasn't caught up to Toronto as good now. I also think NYCFC at home is a little overvalued. I mean, they played well at home last week, but
they were really good at home last year because Yankee Stadium is so...
It's a small field. It's a weird field.
Yeah.
And you can even see when that ball goes to the outfield part of the field, it moves different. Like, you notice.
Yeah, teams don't like playing there, but
no,
I still don't.
And
Toronto's a better team.
Plus 350 is such a good value there, too, that I'd be willing to risk that. And then last on my list, Kansas City minus 145, playing San Jose. San Jose at plus 360. I mean, we just talked about it. I think this is Polito's week. We both hate San Jose. I don't think they...
I hate Toronto. I think San Jose's a bad team.
Fair. There's nothing emotional about San Jose.
Yeah.
But this is the first week that I can actually track bets for money, which is exciting. So I'm gonna put all 5 bets in. I'm gonna do them at $20 a piece, so it's gonna be $100 total. Whatever I bet for the week, I have to match in my investment account. I did let my investment account get a little head start right now, so I have invested $860. The portfolio is worth $876, so I'm up $16 with the investment.
It's
now,
NVIDIA.
Now, week to week, obviously, gambling could win. What we're trying to test here is for the full season, would you have been better off gambling every week or just putting in an investment account and letting it sit there?
It's a fun experiment.
That's what we're testing. And to be honest, if my investment account keeps moving this slowly, it is giving gambling a shot. Because you can pick up $100 on a week gambling. It's very difficult to do that in the investment world when you only have $800 to play with. So, we'll see what happens there. But that's all I got. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about this week?
No,
Anything
check your
you wanna tell
lineups.
people? Check your lineups, check the weather. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
All 7 times. Check your lineups.
Yeah, check all of the lineup times. Go ahead and, for real, subscribe to the channel. Follow the Instagram. We're posting all the stuff there. I'll also start posting the betting slips on Instagram. Now I can do that so you can see which things got locked in, if anything changes last minute. Honestly, this week, the only reason any of these would change is if I find out Miami isn't playing Messi, Suarez, and Busquets again.
Which I doubt.
Right. I mean, they really can't afford to not play them again.
Right.
So, all right. Well, tune in next week, guys. That's our show.